The pounding on my door at 11:17 p.m. on a Saturday night wasn't a knock, it was a declaration of war. Open up. This is an official HOA compliance inspection. Failure to comply is grounds for immediate arrest and property seizure. 3 heavy fists, then 3 more, each one rattling the frame like they were auditioning for a SWAT team. I stared at the clock, heart thumping, but not from fear. From pure, ice-cold amusement. 'Cause I knew exactly who was out there. I padded barefoot down the hall of my little 2-story in Oak Ridge Estates, the perfect suburban dream just outside Richmond that had become Karen Voss's personal kingdom. I stopped at the front window, peeled back the curtain half an inch, and there they were. 2 meatheads in knockoff Navy uniforms, Oak Ridge Compliance Enforcement, stitched crookedly across their chests like they'd printed the patches at Kinko's. Tactical boots, fake badges that glinted too brightly under my porch light, and enough tattoos crawling up their forearms to make a biker bar jealous. One of them, Rocco, the bigger one with the neck ink, twirled a pair of shiny handcuffs like a kid with a new toy. Behind them, arms folded, designer scarf perfectly draped, stood Karen Voss herself, president of the Oak Ridge HOA for 8 glorious soul-crushing years. Her smile was small, polite, and sharp enough to slice property values. She thought she had me cornered. Again. I let the curtain fall and grabbed my phone off the charger. Not to call 911. Not yet. I'd been waiting for this exact moment for 14 months. Ever since Karen decided I was public enemy number 1 for the crime of leaving 3 moving boxes on my porch for 48 hours when I first moved in. She called it visual pollution, fined me $750, then whispered to every neighbor that I was that deadbeat photographer who probably got fired for laziness. Within weeks, the whole cul-de-sac was crossing the street to avoid me. Kids didn't wave. The mailman stopped chatting. I became the ghost who lowered everyone's resale price just by existing. I'd smiled, nodded, paid the fine, and shut my mouth. Because while Karen was busy measuring everyone's grass with a $9.99 ruler from Home Depot, I was busy installing legal, high-def security cameras in every window, every eave, every damn flower bed. I was logging every citation, every whispered rumor, every cash fine she collected from terrified retirees. I was building a file so thick it could bury her twice. I opened the door slowly, letting the porch light spill out over the little posse. Evening, Karen. Boys. Did I miss the memo about the HOA throwing midnight raves now? Rocco stepped forward, boots thudding like he owned the mortgage. Mr. Reed, you've ignored 4 previous notices regarding your unauthorized solar-powered garden lights. The board has authorized immediate enforcement. He shoved a clipboard at my chest. The paper was still warm from the printer. I didn't take it. I just looked past him at Karen. Garden lights? The ones that are literally the size of a golf ball, and approved by the manufacturer's compliance sheet you yourself signed off on last spring? Or are we making up new rules again because the quarterly HOA budget needs padding? Karen's smile never wavered. She tilted her head like a concerned aunt. Marcus, sweetheart, this isn't personal. It's about protecting property values for everyone. Think of the children. I almost laughed out loud. The children were 2 teenagers currently filming this from their bedroom window across the street. I could see the phone flash reflecting off their blinds. Before Rocco could cuff me for the heinous crime of having fairy lights, I lifted my phone and hit play on a saved video. The audio crackled through the night air. Karen's own voice from 6 weeks earlier at Mrs. Delgado's door. Pay the $1,200 fine in cash tonight, dear, and we'll forget the whole foreclosure nonsense. You wouldn't want the bank to know you're behind on HOA dues, would you? Mrs. Delgado, 78, widow on fixed income, crying in the background. Rocco froze. Jax, the shorter one with the scar, actually took a half step back. Karen's perfectly Botox face twitched. Smile, I said softly. You're all live on my private server right now, streaming to my attorney and the Virginia Attorney General's office. Say hi to the lawsuit, Karen. The silence that followed was beautiful. You could hear crickets and the distant hum of the neighborhood's collective jaws hitting the pavement. Rocco's handcuffs stopped spinning. This is bullshit, he muttered. No, I replied, still calm. This is 14 months of you two playing dress-up as cops while Karen funnels cash into her little shell company, Oak Ridge Community Standards LLC, which, by the way, has no state security license, no insurance, and exactly one employee, Karen's cousin, who signs the checks. Impersonating law enforcement is a felony, gentlemen. Extortion is another. And Karen, well, let's just say the IRS loves paper trails. Karen's voice came out higher than usual. Marcus, you're twisting everything. We're just enforcing the rules everyone agreed to when they bought their homes. I leaned against the doorframe, the cool night air brushing my face. Rules you rewrite every time your Mercedes leases due. Rules that somehow only ever punish the old, the single moms, and the quiet guys like me who won't kiss the ring. Tell me, Karen, how many seniors have you scared into selling cheap so your developer buddies can flip the lots? How many cash fines never made it into the official HOA ledger? Jack started backing toward the black SUV parked half on my lawn, hazard lights still blinking like a clown car at a crime scene. Rocco looked at Karen, then at me, then at the phone I was still holding up. Karen tried one last time. This is harassment. I'll have the board. The board. I cut her off. You mean the 3 people you handpicked because they're scared of you too? Yeah, I've got their signed statements as well. All notarized. All time-stamped. You can keep the clipboard though. Looks good with the fake badge. The SUV peeled out 30 seconds later, tires squealing loud enough to wake half the block. Porch lights started flicking on like dominoes. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like the neighborhood pariah. I felt like the guy who just lit the match under Karen Voss's paper throne. But I knew better than to celebrate. Bullies don't quit when you embarrass them. They double down. And Karen Voss was about to prove exactly how ugly that could get. The next morning my mailbox was stuffed with fresh violations. Not 1. 7. Printed on the same crisp paper Rocco had shoved at me the night before. My grass was allegedly 0.3 inches too long in one spot. My American flag was faded beyond community standards. My recycling bin had been spotted 3 minutes past pickup. Each one carried the same red stamp at the bottom. Pay within 72 hours or face lien and foreclosure proceedings. I stood on my porch in the sunlight, coffee in hand, and actually chuckled. Because while Karen was busy printing her little revenge papers, I was uploading last night's porch footage to a secure cloud and forwarding it to 3 different agencies. Let her play. I've been playing longer. By Wednesday the black SUV was back, cruising the cul-de-sac at 2 a.m. with those cheap red and blue strobes clipped to the dash like they'd stolen them from a Spirit Halloween clearance bin. They didn't stop at my house. They didn't need to. They parked in front of Mr. Hargrove's place, the 82-year-old Korean war vet who flew his flag every single day. I watched from my darkened window as Rocco and Jax climbed out, clipboards in hand. Mr. Hargrove opened the door in his robe. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the old man's shoulders slump when they slapped another paper against his chest. Improper illumination of patriotic display. $850. Cash preferred. I waited until the SUV rolled away, then walked across the street with my phone and a fresh pot of coffee. Mr. Hargrove didn't slam the door in my face this time. He actually let me in. They said if I don't pay by Friday they'll put a lien on the house, he whispered, hands shaking around the mug. I fought at Incheon. Now I'm fighting 2 clowns in Halloween costumes. I sat at his kitchen table and showed him the folder I'd been quietly building for months. Every citation Karen had ever issued. Every cash payment receipt I'd managed to photograph when neighbors thought no one was watching. Every bank transfer from Oak Ridge Community Standards LLC straight into an account with Karen's name on it. Mr. Hargrove, I said quietly, I'm not the deadbeat she says I am. I'm the guy who's been documenting this circus since the day she tried to evict me over moving boxes. If you're willing to sign a statement, we can end this. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Son, I've been waiting for someone with guts to show up. That was the first domino. By the end of the week I had 6 more. Tamara Ruiz, single mom of 2, whose flower bed didn't match the approved color palette, and was facing foreclosure. The Henderson couple fined $1,400 for driveway cracks that appeared after last winter's freeze. Even quiet Mrs. Delgado, who'd paid Karen $3,200 in cash over 2 years just to keep her late husband's rose bushes. Every night the SUV circled. Every night I logged the times, the routes, the license plate that traced back to Karen's cousin's name. I didn't confront anyone publicly. I just smiled, waved, and kept recording. The neighbors who used to avoid my eyes now left little notes in my mailbox. "Thank you. We're with you. Please don't give up." Karen noticed the shift. Of course she did. She started the whisper campaign the following Monday. At the community mailbox, I overheard her telling Mrs. Denton, "You know, Marcus was asked to leave his last neighborhood for aggressive behavior. The HOA there had to call the real police. I'm only trying to protect us." By Wednesday, the rumor had evolved. I was unstable. I kept guns. I probably had a record. Someone even scratched "freak" into my car door with a key. Cute. I could have fought back with words. Instead, I uploaded the porch video to a private YouTube unlisted link and sent the link to every single homeowner in Oak Ridge with one sentence. "Watch before you believe the next rumor." The tide turned so fast I almost got whiplash. Karen called an emergency HOA meeting for that Friday night at the community center. Mandatory attendance, she claimed. I showed up early, sat in the back row, and waited. The room was packed. People who hadn't spoken to me in over a year kept glancing my way. Karen strode in wearing her power suit and that same fake polite smile. She started with the usual speech. "We're here tonight because certain individuals are undermining the very fabric of our community." I stood up slowly. Every head turned. "Before you keep going, Karen," I said, voice carrying across the room, "maybe you should explain why your compliance officers don't have a single valid Virginia security license between them. Or why every cash fine you've collected for the last 2 years has gone into an LLC you personally own. Or why the developer who keeps lowballing offers on foreclosed homes here is your brother-in-law." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. I held up my phone. "And before anyone calls this harassment, I have 47 hours of footage, 29 signed affidavits, and a civil lawsuit already filed in Richmond Circuit Court. The Attorney General's office received the criminal referral this morning." Karen's face went the color of old oatmeal. Rocco and Jack, standing guard by the door like the idiots they were, actually tried to step forward. That's when the real police walked in. 2 uniformed deputies I'd quietly tipped off an hour earlier. "Karen Voss," the older deputy said, "you're under arrest for extortion, fraud, and conspiracy to impersonate law enforcement. Gentlemen," he nodded at Rocco and Jax, "you're coming too." The handcuffs that clicked on Karen's wrists this time were real. The room erupted. Some people cheered. Some cried. Mrs. Delgado hugged me so hard I thought my ribs would crack. Karen twisted in the deputy's grip, eyes wild, voice cracking for the first time in 8 years. "You think this is over, Marcus? You have no idea who you're dealing with. This neighborhood, this whole system, you just poked the real bear." They dragged her out. The SUV was towed. The fake badges hit the floor like cheap confetti. For the first time since I moved in, Oak Ridge Estates felt like a place people actually lived instead of a prison with perfect lawns. But that night, after the celebration died down and I finally walked back to my quiet house, I found a single black envelope slipped under my door. No stamp. No return address. Just my name typed in plain block letters. Inside was a plain white card. On it, one sentence in the same font Karen had used on every citation. "You won the battle. The war is just beginning." A concerned neighbor who owns more than one house. I stared at it for a long time, the porch light buzzing above my head. I didn't sleep much after that card. The next morning I photographed it, bagged it, and drove it straight to the detective handling Karen's case. He looked at the card, then at me, and sighed the sigh of a man who'd seen too many concerned neighbors turn out to be something worse. "We'll look into it," he said. "But between you and me, read Karen Voss was small time. The developer network she was feeding? That's statewide. You might have just stepped on a lot of expensive toes. I nodded. I'd expected as much. Over the next 3 weeks, the neighborhood changed in small, beautiful ways. Tamar Ruiz's kids rode their bikes past my house and actually waved. Mr. Hargrove flew his flag at full staff again and invited me over for coffee twice. The new interim HOA board, elected in an emergency vote I didn't even have to push for, canceled every pending fine and started rewriting the covenants with actual human beings in mind. No more measuring grass with rulers. No more midnight raids. I even got a handwritten apology from Mrs. Denton, who admitted she'd been the one spreading the unstable rumor. I was scared, she wrote. Karen made us all scared. I accepted it. Fear is a hell of a drug, and Karen had been the dealer. But the black card stayed on my desk like a paper landmine. Then came the final hearing. The courtroom in Richmond was standing room only. Reporters from 3 local stations. Neighbors packed shoulder to shoulder. Karen sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, hair flat, makeup gone, looking every inch the small-time tyrant she was. Her attorney tried the usual song and dance. My client was simply enforcing long-standing community rules. I took the stand last. No theatrics. Just the truth delivered quiet and steady. I walked the judge through every receipt, every video clip, every terrified neighbor's statement. When I played the audio of Karen telling Mrs. Delgado she'd lose her house if she didn't pay cash that night, the entire gallery went dead silent. The judge didn't even let the defense finish their closing. Mrs. Voss, the court finds you guilty on all counts. 6 years federal prison. Full restitution. Lifetime ban from any HOA or property management role in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Bailiffs, take her away. Karen stood up so fast her chair toppled. She pointed straight at me, voice shaking with pure venom. You think you saved them? They'll come for you next. The people who own these developments, they don't lose. Ever. The gavel cracked. End of story. Or so I thought. 3 nights later, I was walking my dog Max around the cul-de-sac at dusk, when the black SUV rolled past again. Different plates. Tinted windows. No flashing lights this time. It slowed to a crawl right beside me. The passenger window slid down just enough for me to see a man I'd never met before. Expensive suit, silver hair, cold eyes. He didn't speak. He just lifted one finger to his lips in the universal sign for "Hey." Then the window went back up and the SUV disappeared around the corner. I stood there under the streetlight, Max pressing against my leg, and felt the same old chill I'd felt the night of the first raid. Only this time I wasn't alone. Half the neighborhood had seen the SUV. Phones were already out. I looked up at the houses around me. Lights on, families inside, kids laughing behind curtains, and realized something important. Karen had been the face. But the machine she served was still running. The next morning I printed out every piece of evidence I still had, walked to the new HOA board, and laid it on the table. We're not done, I told them. But this time we fight together. They didn't look away. They didn't cross the street. They nodded. And somewhere in the distance, I swear I heard the faint sound of a printer spitting out another citation. Only this time, the paper was headed straight for the people who thought they could hide behind Karen Voss forever. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments, and be honest. When the rules are written by bullies who hide behind community standards, who's really breaking the law? The guy who finally says enough and records everything, or the smiling president who sends fake cops to your door at midnight? Was Karen Voss just an overzealous neighbor protecting property values, or was I the real villain for refusing to stay quiet? Drop your verdict below, because the next raid might be coming to your street next.